Great. Okay, this meeting is now called to order. Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items?
Just this comment.
No comments. Okay, and so I'm going to ask, well, it's just Sandra and me, but raise your hand if you want to be recognized, and I'll try and see you. And if I can't, then hopefully Dr. Androjanos or Crystal can help me. Okay, so on board policy 3100, organizational structure, Crystal, you want to share that? Okay, are there any comments, Sandra? Okay, hearing no comments. I have no comments on this.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, 3250 integrated planning process. So this one is back for review. Okay, and I saw that the wording was changed to be inclusive.
Yep.
Of all the plans. I had no comments. Oh, Emmanuel is just joining now. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, is he on or logged in? Emmanuel, are you there? Trustee Gomez?
Present.
Great. We're just starting the agenda now. We finished reviewing board policy 3100 on the organizational structure. I don't know if you have any comments, but Trustee Chenlon or I had comments on it. It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't at the moment.
Okay, we're now reviewing board policy 3250 integrated planning process. This came before the board subcommittee last week. There were some comments and it is being brought back. Wording has been changed. The comments were originally it looked like review was only on one plan, and now that wording has been changed. So planning, it includes all plans. Integrated planning includes all plans. And that's that bolded paragraph. Are there any comments from the trustees? If you want to raise your hand, let me know. Okay, seeing no comments, if this is approved to move forward. Okay, on board policy 3310, records retention and destruction. Are there any comments from the trustees? Raise your hand.
Trustee Chen-Lau has a question.
Okay,
I have a
Trustee
question.
Chenlau?
Great, thanks. Where are these records stored? When you have to,
records are stored in multiple places across the campus. There's a lot of records in admissions and records, which is primarily where this is. They have a lot of paper records, but we, of course, and this, what we've done now is added on our electronic storage as well. So that gives us, like, I have records stored electronically on a shared drive. So this is just saying we have the right to retain and destruct records as needed, as long as we are in compliance with federal rules of civil procedure and Title V.
okay, great, thank you.
But also, you know, human resources has a ton of paper files. There's paper files.
Yeah.
Well,
everywhere.
we're trying to move away. We're trying to move away from that. We've instituted Adobe Sign, and we have our whole like job thing in Neo Ed, and so we're trying to move away from that.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay.
Less paper is better.
Yeah.
Trustee Gomez, any comments?
I agree with the last paper for sure.
Okay. All right, so no comments on this, and so it will pass. Okay, on board policy 5030 on the fees, this is being brought back from last week. So I see that we included the international students. There was no credit by examination. So there was no need to include non-resident students? That was the question.
Here's what I did is, if you see under international non-resident students, I clarified that it belongs to international as well as non-residents of the state of California. We charge the capital outlay fee.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
And then I also talked to Jessie about the credit by examination fee and why that needed to be charged. And she said, because if we don't charge something, we would get nothing for those credits earned, because otherwise we would get it through FTS.
Okay. All right.
Otherwise, we would just be basically handing out free units.
I
Yeah.
see. Are there any questions from the other trustees? Trustee Chandler, Trustee Gomez? No, I don't see any hands raised.
Nope.
So my other question on that credit by examination is, do we know if there's an impact to the disproportionately impacted populations of our students, or is that unlikely, or is that normally not?
That's unlikely, largely
Okay.
because credit by exam would be probably more likely to be someone who has had lived experiences where they say, you know, I already know intro to computers, I can come here and demonstrate it. I think you would be hard pressed to show disproportionate impact in that category, and to the extent that we would need to make some sort of adjustment to our fee structure.
Okay. Okay. Since no questions from the other trustees, I think this one passes.
Okay.
All right, we're now on Board Policy 7350, Delegation of Authority and Resignations.
You want to go ahead? Yeah.
Sorry. I had to go find it. It's
I know
fetching.
we're moving so fast through all of these, lightning speed. Okay, are there any questions from any of the trustees?
Just so you know, we thought that this had completed the process of coming through you, but when it was first brought, it included hiring and resignations, and the board decided that they would prefer to just have me be able to officially accept resignations. So we thought we had deleted the hiring and brought it through, and then we really didn't. So
Yeah, I thought you had two, so I was kind of surprised to see it, but that's
it's an
good.
oversight. Yeah.
Yep, no problem. That's good. This just ties up the loose ends.
Yeah.
Okay, so no questions from the trustees. This passes. All right. So on the accreditation update.
We rock. What else is there?
Yeah, good report.
Yeah, we're the
Good
only college that was reaffirmed for the full 7 years without any sort of requirements. We have no recommendations to write to. Yeah, it's all good.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah, great
You're
job. Great job.
Yeah, Crystal and Dr. Alvarado.
Any questions from the trustees on the accreditation for Dr. Andronis?
Yeah, Dr. Andronis, you sent an email clarifying the recommendation that the team had on effectiveness, and it was on the desegregated data. So what is it that they're looking at?
Well,
what they're looking for?
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing. So when the report out happened, Dr. Bush made like some fairly distinct comments about SLO disaggregated data. But then when the action letter came, which is what matters, what the commission took action on, it was much more general. Crystal, do you want to talk a little bit about how you've approached trying to figure out what the heck they were talking about?
Yeah, I've been reading the report, and I appreciate the way they handled this, because what we expressed to the team is we understand that we need to do this disaggregation at the program level, but we don't have a software product that will do it for us efficiently. So my staff has been working on it in our office, but is it exceedingly cumbersome for us to do it? So that's why Erica and the college has agreed for us to do an RFP to get a new software product that will allow faculty to do to record SLO assessment, but it'll also integrate with our annual planning process, our comprehensive program review process, and will allow us to add student demographics so that we can easily disaggregate the data within the software product. So they actually wrote this into the report that we said that we were going to do this. And I think that's why they didn't give us anything specific.
Okay, trustee Chandler, you have another question?
Yeah, so when you're talking about desegregated data, what data are they looking at? I mean, it's student
They're-
demographics, is
Yeah,
it
they're primarily
what-
looking at student demographics. So how are the different demographic populations of the college doing on our learning outcomes? So
mm,
that's what they're asking us. So it's age, it's ethnicity, it's gender, it's how are the different demographic attributes of students, how are they? That way, because the whole point of this is for us to be able to do targeted interventions to help those students who are not meeting our learning outcomes.
okay. Well, and it's surprising that we don't have that already. We must have it in some shape or form, right? Just or no?
Well, we can disaggregate by student grades. We know it by success and retention. It's the learning outcomes that we haven't been able to do it. So at the course and the program level, we haven't been able to do that yet because the product we have now doesn't allow us to load in the student attributes. So that's where we're going in the future, is to have a product that fully integrates with Canvas and Banner to allow us to do that.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Gomez, do you have any questions? No questions for trustee Gomez?
No.
Okay,
Thank
so my follow-up question, as you know, is on the disaggregated data and whether or not we will then expand to those additional groups.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility for us to do that. I mean, we're capturing the data now in Banner. We just don't have any way to relate it to the learning outcomes. So the data
Right.
is in Banner, and we have it at the sub levels of the categories, but we just can't link it up to the learning outcomes yet. That's our goal.
So it seems like it will take some time for us to then find and implement new software. I assume, do you have a product in mind?
No, because I'm doing an RFP, so I have no product in mind. I'm a clean slate when it comes to this.
Okay, well, that's
No
all right,
bias, no
too.
judgment. So yeah, I do
Yeah.
have a timeline. We put in the RFP. You guys should see that soon. Our goal is I renewed Watermark Task Stream for 1 more year because that's part of the current software product we're using now. So we're hoping that by next June, we have selected a new product and have started the implementation process. That doesn't mean we stop collecting data in the meantime, just means that we hope to have a better way of disaggregating the data and using it next year.
So my follow-up to that would be, can we disaggregate at the additional levels, even though it's not linked then to the SLOs, or?
Oh, I mean, we can disaggregate if you want us to look at it at like success and retention degrees, we can do that, because that's all available to me, just not at the learning outcomes level. But I will say this, when we start to disaggregate to those sub-levels, the numbers are going to get very tiny, so we suppress. So we could do private reports that give that to you, but probably nothing public.
Yeah, except I think at some of the levels that were expanded, they probably will not be that, I mean, there will probably be more than the 12 or so. I think that's what's the threshold at which you can report.
You are correct. And the number for us is 10. We don't report less than 10 in the cell.
Mhm.
And you're right. There are some we will be able to do that, but others we will not. So just as long as everybody's cognizant of that fact, it's not that the students don't exist in those categories. It's just that we can't report out on the numbers.
Okay, that's good. And just to know that this was discussed at the CCCT, and our current president now is trustee Ken Brown from El Camino, and he also urged all of the trustees to really move forward on the disaggregation of the data so that we can look at it. So this is good. I'm glad that we'll be pioneers and front runners in this. Okay, any other questions from the trustees? All right, let's move on to the meeting schedule.
Okay, that's where you were going to share your document.
I'm going to share my document.
Yeah, that's what we talked about in email. You were going to share your document.
Well, heck, I missed that. I thought that's why I sent it to you. I thought you were going to share it. Okay, hang on.
I mean, I can find it and pull it up. I just don't have it. I thought you were going to do it.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you were going to do it. And then I thought Tony was going to discuss it. So hang on, let me try and find it today. So this is
Tony's off the hook because he's not here. So
yeah, right. So now I have to do this. Okay, hang on. Let me find this. I'm working off of two different computers, sorry. Darned. Let me email it to you, Crystal, and then you can share it because I'm not finding. You have it?
Nope, I don't have it, but
I'm just
email it. I will do it.
I can't find it on the computer that I'm actually on Zoom. I can find it on this other computer, but I couldn't find it on this one. Oh, announcements have to get out, blah, blah, blah. No, can't find it. You got it, Crystal? I sent it over to you.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for the confusion.
No worries. Just hang on 1 second, it's opening up. Good.
Great, this looks good. All right, so this is a proposal from that Trustee Fellows spoke about at the last meeting. And this was also talked about, it was his proposal at the last board meeting that we find a way to streamline the report outs and request that the board request written documents for staff reports, and that verbal reports only be given just to highlight if it was necessary. Otherwise, the board would receive these staff reports in written form. And then on the agenda, the board secretary would place time limits. This is a recommendation that came from Trustee Silver, that we have time frames around each of those, and then it would be up to the board chair to manage that time. And then on some of the staff presentations that, let's see, so Trustee Fellow has no more than 5 PowerPoint slides to accompany the presentations, and then limit it to 15 minutes. Okay, and the rest are just regarding comments. So with that, I will open it up for discussion from the trustees. Are there any trustees who wish to discuss this? Raise your hand, please.
I can't.
Okay. Trustee Gomez. I see him. Trustee Gomez.
Yes, thank you all. I was just a bit curious about, is this for the meetings that we hold on the board of trustee meeting?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So we are now starting our meetings at 4 o'clock instead of our usual 6 o'clock, which we've been doing for many years, but finding that the meetings are lasting pretty long. So even at 4 o'clock, if we go to 10 o'clock, that's a 6-hour meeting. So seems pretty long for most of the trustees. So this was a proposal made. And if this subcommittee, so the subcommittee is tasked with looking at these recommendations and then bringing this back before the full board.
So how do you want to, oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Chen Lao has her hand up.
Yes.
Okay, wait,
The comment.
did Trustee Gomez finish his comments? Trustee Gomez, did you finish your comments, your questions?
Yes, I'm just
Okay,
assuming this
all right.
is for the, sorry, this is for the closed session?
No, this is for the open session.
Okay, yeah, I'm a bit confused then, because I'm aware that y'all meet prior to me joining you guys.
That's under the closed sessions.
I see.
So we open the meeting and then we go into closed session. So the open part of that session probably only lasts 5 minutes. And then we go into closed session. Then we come back and the open session generally starts around 7 o'clock.
Okay, that is it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Chen Lao.
Yes, so only comment that I have is on this no more than 5 PowerPoint slides using 18-point type. I think if we are limiting the staff presentation to 15 minutes, does it matter how many slides that they have? I mean, sometimes it may take more than 5 slides. And I just don't know if that is too specific and too limiting for the staff on their presentations.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Any other comments on this?
Well, I guess my
Okay.
question would be, what do you see as the plan for the July board meeting? You know, what we had done the last couple of months was start at 4, do some of the meeting, then have closed session at 6, and then do some of them, and then do the rest of the meeting. But if this format is what you want to use, then I'm not sure we need to have a truncated general meeting schedule.
So Dr. Intrajanis, I think this format would have to be agreed upon by all of the trustees. So I don't see it taking effect in July. I think it needs to be, I think these recommendations need to be brought before the entire board so that we agree that this is how we want to handle the business.
Okay.
I myself have some concerns. You know, we have reduced our meetings from twice a month to once a month, saying that we could get through all of our business, but we always agreed that if we could not get through all of our business, then perhaps we should go to a second meeting. So instead, everyone voted that they would start earlier. So if we're finding that that's not also achieving this goal of an effective streamlined meeting. I do agree that some parameters, so I think that creating an agenda that has some timeframes around it, which would give the board chair some guidelines and some latitude to then maybe call for the question after discussion, or put some parameters around how long some of these presentations can be. I think that's helpful. But I also agree with your comments from the last our last subcommittee meeting, where the trustees are asking for additional information, more in-depth information about, you know, what certain data and stats need to be. And I worry that we may not have enough time to ask questions and to really get down to that level, to the level of detail that we should get down to. So the comments that have come back under the DEI reviews have been the boards. We do need to change the culture of the boards to be more querying and not just to rubber stamp things as they go through. We don't want that in our board culture. We need to ask questions so we know where there are gaps and what we can do to, if there are policies that need to be instituted or initiated to help bring resources to certain areas. And then I do worry that if we find that, like, let's say we have a 15-minute parameter on a report, but the board is still in discussion and there seems to be a need to have more discussion before we take action, then I think the board chair will have to have clear guidelines that they either carry over the item or that they extend the time for discussion.
I just want to clarify that number 2 says that questions of trustees about staff reports are excluded from the suggested 15-minute staff report time. So trustees could ask questions for as long as they want. It's just the staff who can only speak for 15 minutes. And Trustee Chen Lao had her hand up. Yeah.
Okay, Trustee Chen Lao.
Part of this, I was wondering, is that does this include information sessions, or are we talking about staff reports? Because I think that it's been helpful having study sessions, you know, when we have more, you know, some more detailed discussions on the budget or on DEI, or on data. So in my mind, the staff reports, those are not included as part of the staff reports. Those certainly would provide more in-depth discussion. The staff reports, I mean, how are you envisioning the staff reports?
Who's
Are
the
you
you
asking
you're
me or are
talking?
you asking Dr.
Yeah.
Antujano?
But I mean,
Yeah.
both of you. I mean, how you know, as you and Tony were working on this, writing this down. How were you and Tony envisioning what the staff reports were?
Well, I didn't write this, so Dr. Fellow wrote this. And
Well,
so,
I think Tony's perspective was that all of the staff information could be provided in written format, and that it was only
Mm-hmm.
if there was something specific that absolutely had to be shared that there was need for a presentation. I'm a little fuzzy on his perspective on the budget presentation. In one of the conversations last week, I thought I recall him saying, oh, and when it comes to the budget, we should just do a separate meeting, which I'm not sure that that's a good use of time to have a short regular board meeting and then schedule a separate board meeting to do the budget. So the way I interpret this is that what Trustee Fellow is hoping for is that if there are presentations of information, they are limited to 15 minutes. And that pretty much all of the information that trustees could really use should be provided in the board packet, and that board members would be responsible for reading the information. The only caveat to that is that if the information is in the board packet, unless somebody talks about the information or does a report out, the trustees can't talk about it because it's not in the agenda. You can only talk about agendized items, not information that's in the board packet. So I think that's.
So I'm interpreting this a little differently. So
Okay.
what the way I read it is, what Dr. Fellow is recommending is anything that's for information be written and doesn't need discussion. And then it's only the reports that need action items that have an action attached to it for which the board would need to vote. Those are the ones that he's asking to limit to 5 PowerPoints in 15 minutes.
So are you looking for a recommendation out of this committee to present to the board? Or are you looking for the board to have a discussion on this as well?
So it is the responsibility of this committee to look at these items that are brought before us and to discuss them, and then to bring it forward to the entire board for further discussion. So we could carry this forward and have comments on it. We could recommend it in full or with some modifications. So I'm sure what Dr. Fellow is looking for is that when this is agendized at the July meeting, that the board would be ready to take action. But I do think there's a number of questions that are being raised, and perhaps this needs to be forwarded to the board as, say, a first reading, and for further additional discussion and to vet the issues before we come back with final recommendation.
If I can just pop in here and say that this is not usually something that the board would vote on. The board doesn't vote on its meeting schedule. The breakdown of it, usually it is the chair or the president's prerogative to schedule the board meeting. So I think that's where you're sort of in a maybe yes, maybe no, like a first reading implies that the board's going to officially vote on its own schedule, which they can. I just want to point out that ultimately it's really up to Berlinda to make the decision as to how to formulate the board agenda. It's not usually up for a board vote.
So what I'm hearing you, so what I'm hearing you say, Erica, is that this, even though we're talking about meeting schedules, which is dates, we're talking about effective monthly meetings, does that correlate with the meeting schedule or how we conduct?
Yeah, because I think in many ways the meeting schedule notation on this is like the ultimate question here is are you going to figure out a schedule by which you only meet once a month, or it appears to be a recommendation But again, it's not anything that you all can vote on because it's not
Right.
agendized as a document. So you all, what you want to have accomplished in this conversation, and it's unfortunate that Trustee Fellow isn't here, is do you have some sort of concurrence as to what Linda, as the vice president or vice chair of the board, can talk to Berlinda about? Because this is not something the board usually votes on. This is a
Yeah.
and it wasn't
And I guess,
so you're
the way,
voting on
and
anything.
I think the way Berlinda put it is she would take it on advisement from this committee. So she agreed that it would be discussed by this committee. So my question on this, Erica, too, is on number 2. So the chair and the secretary of the board shall indicate which individuals shall make reports or will make reports on action items. And I questioned Tony on that. So I was unclear what that actually, I thought you normally designate who is going to make the report.
Yeah, that the number 2 is a little hard to operationalize because what happens is the executive staff comes together the Wednesday before the board agenda is posted on Friday. We figure out what goes into the board agenda. You know, there's a draft and we're working on it, trying to figure out, should this be there? Or, oh, we're missing this. And then individuals have between Wednesday morning and about halfway through Thursday to add or delete things per our conversation. And then Trustee Osterling started the practice of asking that Mary send him a copy of the board agenda just so he could do a quick review on Thursday, so he knew what was on there. Only a couple of times did he have questions, but for the most part, he just said, okay, looks good, and we would post it. So that's why in one of my email exchanges, I said, oh, you know, usually this is the point in the process when the board chair gets involved with the agenda being put together. And he seemed to indicate that he believed the chair should be involved at the front end, but that has not been the practice of this institution, to have the board chair get down to this level in the agenda. I mean, you have the prerogative, but I think that's a little.
Yeah, it has not been our practice. It is, I know, the practice of other districts. And I know at the CCCT, I did ask that the officers at least review the agenda ahead of time. So, okay, so now we're in the position of what we would want to recommend to Berlinda. So I think either that you're clear on everything, you agree with this, or there's some modifications that we clearly would make, or that this needs some further discussion and before we make a recommendation to President Brown. So let me call Trustee Gomez. Do you have any questions on that?
Trustee Chen Lao has her hand up too.
Oh, sorry. I can't see it because the agenda's up. Trustee Chen Lao.
Yes, I would just like to clarify that the monthly board meetings has been decided that that we will have one meeting a month. I believe that the board has decided on that. So we're not talking about 2 meetings a month. We're talking about how we're conducting our monthly meetings with this recommendation.
I believe my recollection is what the board agreed on is we would have 1 meeting a month unless a second meeting is needed, and we could vote on that.
Right. So moving forward, we're operating under the 1 meeting a month, unless there is, you know, a special meeting or something to that extent. But so this doesn't impact that 1 month, or that 1 meeting a month. This wants to streamline that 1 meeting a month from maybe 4 to 9 o'clock to maybe even less time. I think that's what Trustee Fellows, or how I'm interpreting, we all have an interpretation of Trustee Fellows, but that's how I'm interpreting this, is that he would like to have this be even less time spent on the monthly meeting.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's the goal for Trustee Fellow.
Yes. Okay, good.
Okay, so hearing all the discussion, Trustee Gomez, do you have a recommendation or comments, how you would like to proceed?
I agree. For the special meeting, is it also 48 hours here? Is that what it would have to be?
Oh, if it were a special meeting, it could be 24 hours. So a regular meeting is 72 hours and a special meeting is no less than 24 hours.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I apologize. I'm
No,
just
no,
asking.
that's okay. That's okay. Not a problem.
With AS, 24 hours is
Yeah.
for emergency meetings. What's the difference then in this scenario?
Well, I think, so I am referring to an emergency meeting, a 24-hour notice for an emergency meeting. A special meeting have to be properly posted for 72 hours. There's no such thing as 48 hours under the Brown Act.
So maybe to clarify this, I think what we're talking about is a scheduled business meeting as opposed to a special meeting for a
Yes.
particular topic.
Yes.
So these are for business meetings, regardless of whether or not it's the monthly meeting or if we call a second meeting. It's a business meeting.
This is a business meeting. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any comments then, Trustee Gomez?
I
Move
would
forward, you like it, you don't like
Yeah.
some of it?
I actually think I forget who it was that I heard mention it, but I think it would be in the best interest for the public, for us to return if there needs to be any action taken. And then that would be the special meeting or the emergency meeting. Sorry. I think it's good.
Okay, Trustee Chenlo?
Yes, it's fine. I just would like to give the staff more flexibility on the no more than 5 PowerPoint slides using 8-point type. If we can strike that sentence, I would support this recommendation.
Okay. Remember, this is not an official document that you're making. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I would say at this point, Trustee Wah, what you would do is go back and have a conversation with Trustee Brown. And again, it's completely her purview. You two can agree to add this as an action item if you want to have a conversation about it at the next board meeting, or she could just say, she could direct me to create the board agenda according to whatever you and she agree to.
okay, so noted.
Yep.
All right. Now we're on to proposed future agenda items. Are there any proposed future agenda items?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, seeing no raised hands, I think we're at adjournment.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. Bye,
Thanks.
everyone.